Squid Game, the most recent K-drama that has been booming across all of the social media platforms like crazy. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys right now have seen or come across videos that tells us about what we've learned or what we can learn from the Squid Game series. But in this video, what I want to talk about is what we've learned in terms of investing from Squid Game itself. In episode 2, Sang-woo mentioned to his friends that he is going to have to repay 600 billion won in debt from just trading stocks and futures, and he has bet all of his assets like house, cars, and even his mom's house as a collateral. So if you don't want to end up making the same mistakes playing takji with a strangely handsome guy by the subway station in the middle of the night, then this video is probably just for you. I can't even say it with a straight face. So for stocks, it is definitely very hard for you to lose this much of money. Yes, you've heard that right, it is very hard for you to lose up to this big an amount of money. But it is entirely possible. For example, if you go into day trading or swing trading with a big amount of leverage, with little knowledge, then you will probably end up just like Sang-woo, which have a ton of money in debt. However, if you are a retail investor or a newer investor, definitely play the safe way, buy stocks with just cash. No leverage at all, just cash. You can also do it by the rule of thumb of just buying and hold, and definitely you will be able to generate a substantial amount of returns in the long term. Investing into an index fund like the S&P 500 over a long period of time through dollar cost averaging and compounding interest will generate you a substantial amount of returns if you're lazy to do individual company research and if you want to do a passive investing type of strategy. Lower risk but slightly lower returns, but your returns are guaranteed, and not to mention that most individual stock pickers, investors actually underperform the S&P 500 year after year. So I definitely don't see a reason to not invest into the S&P 500 since the returns that they generate is guaranteed in the long term and it's very stable and it takes pretty much zero work at all. For futures, it is always like that. You'll end up losing everything including your underwear if you don't know what you are doing. So let me explain a little bit about futures if you don't know what that is. So let's just say one stock of Apple is predicted to be worth at $500 per share 5 years from now, and the buyer agreed with the seller and they both have a contract to buy it 5 years from now at $500. So instead of $500 per share of Apple, after 5 years it has rose to about $800. But the buyer and the seller has already agreed to make that transaction at the specific amount of time at the specific price. So what will happen is the buyer will be buying $800 worth of assets with only $500, and the seller will be losing $300 by releasing the $800 worth of asset to the buyer. I hope I'm not making this way too complicated for you guys. So for the buyer, he actually made a net profit of $300 if he decides to liquidate that asset itself. So right now you're asking, how can you pull a Sang-woo in futures trading? Well, it's very simple. If your futures do not turn out the way that you predicted, you have to top up cash because you have to fulfill the daily obligation as the change in the value of the positions, up or down, is transferred to the futures accounts of the parties at the end of every trading day. Now it all makes sense, right? But wait, there is still one more that he mentioned. Didn't Sang-woo say that he used his properties and his mom's properties all as a collateral? Well, this can happen to any of us too, but not so severe depending on what platform or exchange you are using. This is caused by over-leveraging your own assets in your investments. Typically, when you're trying to leverage your investments, you will have to have some form of collateral for the people to hold onto your assets in case if your investments were to go south or downhill or the way that you do not predict it to be, or let's just say you lose money, you will have to go ahead and sell off your assets or your collateral assets in order to repay all of your debt and your leverage. So with proper risk calculations, you will not be able to lose up to this big an amount of assets. And again, if you are a newer or a retail investor, I would give you a friendly suggestion saying that it's better you invest into stocks with only cash. Try not to leverage unless you're trying to trade or you're learning how to trade at least. So here in the Squid Game show, we've learned 3 things in terms of investment. Number 1, try not to be greedy. Cannot rush anything in life, especially when it comes to investment. Number 2, always calculate your risks and do not over leverage your own investments. Leverage can definitely make you a ton of money, that's for sure, but it can also lose you a ton of money to a point where you have to end up trapped in an ecosystem with a lot of masked people around you playing kids games, and if you were to lose, you know what happens. Number 3, do not ever get greedy. Gambling will never ever get you far in life. You might win this once or twice, but after that you'll just keep on losing all the way until your underwear is all off and you'll be finding yourself walking home with no money in your pocket, and you don't even have pockets at that point. So I definitely hope that this video is an entertaining one. It definitely took me quite a while to do this video, and it's probably going to take me a while to edit as well. So with that being said, if you guys have enjoyed this video, definitely smash that like button. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video.
Playing games, got you dancing in the middle of the club, got you dancing in the middle of the club. I know